ZombieTech. Welcome to ZombieTech, a forum for engineers, scientists, and inventors to ponder on the technologies needed to survive the inevitable zombie apocalypse.
She's Eddie.
He's Whisker.
And who do we have this week?
Today we have Paul Clarke, otherwise known as Mon PJC, and you're from the UK.
That's right. I'm here.
Huzzah! So where does Mon PJC come from?
Oh, that's very old, actually. When we first got the internet, we had to come up with a sort of a username.
Sure.
And as it is, it's like you put in lots of different usernames, and all of them seem to be taken. And it was just one that happened to stick, and used it ever since.
So it's like a random smattering of 6 letters that you...
Pretty much, yeah.
That's awesome. Although PJC,
it's just
I guess,
memorable.
Sure. I guess PJC is not so random because it's Paul J. Clarke.
That's right, yeah.
But the Mon might be slightly random. All right. Well, fair enough.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, and it's also easy just to remember then, because otherwise you keep changing your username and you never remember it years later.
Yep, that's a very good point. So So you are a electronics design engineer at EBM. Is it Pabst? Can you say it like that?
It's Pabst. Yeah.
Does it stand for anything?
If you actually look at it's a German company. If you actually look it up, it means the Pope.
The Pope.
But as in the Pope. But it actually has nothing to do with him at all. I'm not quite sure what the German meaning behind it is.
That is terribly funny because you guys make like motors and fans, and that relation to the Pope is completely random.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I mean, originally Pabst was a fan manufacturer on their own, which go back many years, and EBM, which is German for something. I should probably be told off for not being able to remember it. It basically means electric motors.
Okay.
And they basically joined together at some point, so it's an amalgamation of the two names.
Gotcha. And so the whole company again is motor and fan manufacturing.
That's
and
right.
I saw in a bunch of your biographies that you supervise from the very beginning of the process in terms of conception all the way to even tech support. Are you still doing that? Is that still...
Yeah, because we've got 57 subsidiaries around the world, of which the UK is one.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's designed and manufactured in Germany from the fan point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do the higher level assembly in the UK.
Oh, okay.
And which started off, just putting plugs on the ends of fans. But they've now got a design team. So we're a small design team, even though we're under a very large company.
Mm-hmm.
And we do, we supervise everything from meeting the customer, writing the spec right the way through to sort of helping them test it if they can't get it to work when it's finished, and doing tech support afterwards.
Now that's pretty neat because a lot of the engineers that we talk to are very specialized in one area. They don't, like, once the ideas come to them, then they may troubleshoot certain parts of the spec or the schematic and then send it off to somebody else. But you guys actually end up going from beginning to end, well, quasi end, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's a small team, and so we work very much like a small company. So you have to deal with everything from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked at places where you only ever deal with the circuit side, and you've got other people doing the PCB layout and the manufacturing and all that other side for you. And you're just a small part of the chain.
It's almost kind of sadistic.
It's nice in a way.
Oh, go ahead.
It's nice in a way, but it's also, it can be quite difficult because you haven't got many people in your team, so you haven't got in larger teams. It's easy to bounce stuff off, ideas and problems and solution and looking for things. But where we are in the UK, we've only actually got 3 electronics engineers, and
oh my gosh. Wow.
As you can see, that's one of the reasons I talk to people in the community.
Right. just to
Yeah,
get
but
another
I mean, it's
perspective.
good that locally, I mean, there's not nearly as many around that could get bit and uh, convert.
But but the danger in that is that if everybody needs an electronics engineer, then they'll end up flocking to those like these three, and then that'll attract more zombies, right?
I guess so.
Right. So I mean, there's some risk there. If you had a whole team of like 50 electronics engineers, right? Then at least only a few would be picked off, and like Paul would be prepared. He would be like in the center and not, or maybe even gone, like maybe even to the apocalypse bunker.
Or maybe what you need is pseudo engineers,
What's
people that
this?
look like engineers.
Ah,
That would work too.
decoys. There you go.
Yeah,
Like
feed them off first.
shop dummies or something. Just dress them up as engineers and set them out front.
That'd be
I
great.
don't think they'd have to be shop dummies. I've certainly worked with some that look like that anyway.
Do you think zombies just inherently understand that engineers run slower than other people, so that they should, chase the engineer specifically?
I don't. I think there's. I don't think engineers move slowly at all.
Oh.
I've certainly seen how quickly they move when there's free cakes available.
Free food.
We presented at a IEEE meeting a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And the engineers there definitely moved very quickly to the pizza table.
It's pretty good pizza.
I certainly don't. I certainly don't understand how they managed to take over the world because they can only walk. They don't seem to move fast at all. It just seems you've only got to pick your pace up to get out of their way.
Yeah. True. So, okay.
Now, speaking of the community, Paul writes for
a bajillion blogs.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I wrote a list down here. Engineer blogs, you've done a bunch of blogs for them. Design Spark, you're still writing for.
Yep.
EE Web, you're still writing for.
Yep.
And you also have your own blog.
Yep. And I'm also doing stuff for Element 14.
Ah, I gotta add that to the list. Element 14. Goodness gracious. So why do you like blogging so much?
I don't know. I sort of got drawn into it. It actually goes back to before Design Spark started.
Mm-hmm.
Through EBM, obviously we sell a lot of fans through RS and Farnell.
Mm.
And we were at RS and I was complaining about the lack of information that was available for small teams and engineers like we're in, and you haven't got the other people to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And before they then came to us, before Design Spark was actually launched, and said to us, hey, we've got this beta website we're trying out, new community and stuff like this, similar to along the lines to sort of Element 14, but they'd already beaten us to it.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to come on board? I think we were first of 500 users to actually use the site before it went live in July. So it started from there, and the community manager then, Lee, pushed very hard for us to we wanted to get content onto the site rather than just launching an empty website.
Sure.
Because nobody wants to go to an empty website where there's no information, because then no one wants to put information in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we were starting to write blogs, and he was sort of generally encouraging myself, and Peter also works at EBM, to write blogs, and that's where it really started. And it sort of progressed from then on.
I mean, yeah, because at this point, it's almost like you write like a few a month, or
it's about one a week.
1 a week, yeah, just with all the different locations. Do you find that it's actually helpful in terms of establishing a community that small teams can go to?
Well, you mean places like Design Spark?
Yeah, Design Spark, EE Web. I mean, just all these different blogs, because, like you were saying,
I think it can. I think one of the things that I certainly found when I looked for projects, and even now when you go out and you look for example projects, is you go to hobbyist sites and you're not always convinced that they know what they're talking about, even though they do, a lot of them.
Yeah, we definitely don't.
And sometimes you're actually looking for somewhere that sort of gives you a little bit more information and somewhere where you can ask questions. So
True.
places like Dave's forum with the EEV blog is a great forum for there's lots and lots of engineers on there talking about stuff, and you can get lots of information from there, and you get useful information. So these communities are good. I have always said to them, though, it would be better if they all had one site.
Sure.
Rather than half a dozen different sites.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. I mean, I think in principle they see the idea, but I don't think corporately any of them would ever join up together to make one site.
Sure.
But they're reasonably good. There are pros and cons for every site.
Sure.
I mean, Dave and Chris and lots of the other guys that are online like yourselves complain bitterly about some of the downfalls of the sites, and I think they work hard to try and correct those and try and make them as easy to use for engineers. But there's ultimately that goal in the background that they're commercial and they've got to make money.
Right. And I think that's actually probably why a lot of sites stay separate, so that the money doesn't have to go to all of the different people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but as engineers, we don't really care. I mean, if you go on Element 14 and you read about a particular product, it's not going to make you buy it from that site. If you can get it cheaper from RS or DigiKey or Mouser, you'll still buy it from there.
True.
So I think they know that, but they're trying to pretend it doesn't happen.
It's an interesting dilemma. It's an interesting.
I think we should start spreading rumors that all of the competing community sites that their owners are zombies secretly living in human society.
What's that
Dave
gonna
Jones
do?
would be a great spot to start, because
What's
I think
that
we could
gonna
convince
do?
people that Dave is a zombie.
But David doesn't even know what a zombie is.
He gets kind of grumpy, especially when things don't work right.
So you mean like if he doesn't get enough human flesh?
Yeah, well, that's why he has so
He
many
gets
forum
ranty.
members. He needs to have that many for lunch.
David's gonna.
I mean, you notice how people disappear
Dave's gonna
from
be like,
those
"What in the
forums,
world?"
right? Never to be seen again.
If you ever wanted a way of being mentioned on the AMP hour, I think you've done it.
Oh, David. So, now when it comes to, I'm very interested in this idea of engineers at the workplace using these communities as resources. You know, there's a lot of like NDAs that engineers have to sign, and there's IP and blah blah blah. So, like, how much can people actually end up?
Well, that's the big issue is how much you can actually discuss online without infringing your own patent or IP.
Right.
It's great if you're a hobbyist. You
Right.
can just talk about whatever you like.
Right.
Ask the questions. But yeah, you've got to think when you go on there and you sort of ask about, a particular latest chip, or you tend to have to watch, read what other people are writing. Try and glean information from the application notes and the data sheets and the hobbyists.
Or pretend like you're a hobbyist and kind of tweak the question.
That's the other way around, yeah. I don't think I get away with that, though. It's too obvious where I am. And certainly on these other on these communities, there are I know there are people on there that are our suppliers, our customers, and also our competitors.
Oh,
So
sure.
it's
even doubly more difficult because.
I can't go on there and start talking about the latest fan that generates anti-gravity particles or something like that.
Do tell.
And because they're all going to go, oh, what are they doing? They're obviously designing something new and
right.
Going in a particular way, and can give them a tip off.
Right.
So it has to be kept.
Gosh,
kept what you're actually saying.
That's frustrating. I mean,
it can be.
Do you guys at least have like inter-team or intra-team communication, with other double E teams around in different locations or what have you?
But you say that I've actually worked for a company where they had 130 engineers worldwide,
Mm-hmm.
and they had their own internal forum, which was
Oh.
closed,
Oh.
and they were actually able to discuss and ask questions. So, for instance, they say, "Well, we've got, want to develop the next. We're developing a power factor controller."
Sure.
And they'll say, what chips are other people using, and other people can come back freely and discuss it.
Oh.
Because
Yeah.
and you can
I've
freely
actually
discuss
set
the
up
ideas.
our own internal private. It's essentially, it works just like Twitter, but it's inside the firewall for us. We haven't used it for anything, but yeah, we have it.
We do?
Yeah.
Oh.
Shows how much I know. I just talked to Whisker. He's sitting next to me. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, I do all the IT and infrastructure for this stuff. So, I've gone through tool after tool after tool. So I know exactly what Paul's talking about when he says that they've got their own like private internal systems. I've heard some software engineer at various companies have told me that they have their own internal IRC servers.
Oh.
In their companies.
That's handy.
Yeah, so they can just sit in an IRC channel. For each dev team has their own channel, and then they've got like, group channels where department heads will hang out in just to coordinate.
Well, that works.
It's certainly a good way. The more people you can involve, the better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And certainly if they're from different sites.
Right.
I mean, as I said before, we've got different sites around the world. I mean, we're free to discuss whatever we want with the other sites.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We don't necessarily talk to each other at an engineering level, but certainly at a technical level, there's lots of discussions about new products and new ideas and products that we're making.
Gotcha.
And seeing whether requirements are needed elsewhere in the world.
Gotcha. Now, what's the easiest part about, like, designing your projects? Since
the easiest part.
Yeah, well, since you guys do like from beginning to end, what do you find is the easiest thing to get into? For you personally, I suppose.
Actually getting the job done.
That's actually a pretty good easiest part to do. I mean, because that takes a lot of time to get to that point.
Yeah, it's not just speaking for any one company in particular, but there's the whole spec writing point, the making decisions, the agreeing funds and hours and stuff like that, and that's dreadfully painful to go through as a process. And as engineers, we often sit there and think, we'd just rather get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, you think, well, it works. Why do I have to spend all this much time writing an OMI for someone who clearly shouldn't be using this product if they don't know, how to wire up a mains plug? So there's the extremities, I think, are the worst, the paperworking, certainly for me. But the actual doing the schematics, doing the PCB, doing the layouts, building the prototypes, the testing and stuff like that. That's the only way you can describe it is that's the hobby part of the electronics.
Sure.
That's then wrapped up in the commercial world of all the what we engineers call nonsense.
Yeah, well,
that seems highly
that nonsense facilitates an entire livelihood. So,
but doesn't
nice that nonsense is there.
Doesn't that seem?
Yeah, but if you look at what Jason's doing, yes, he's having to decide what specs he's going through for the products he's designing. Most of the guys like him.
Right.
But the turnaround of their products is far, far higher than what most commercials are doing because they're spending so much time looking at paperwork and stuff like that. And yes, there is a reason for doing it. You don't want projects to fail and not to sell anything.
Sure.
And there are larger risks.
Yeah, I'm completely behind Jason's ways of doing it. Jason Todic.com, friend of the show. I think he's doing a great thing over there, keeping it small, keeping the turnaround quick. It's really good.
So, isn't that incredibly inefficient use of engineers, though? Because you guys are like brilliant at, doing all of the actual what you refer to as hobby work, shouldn't they just leave the documentation for somebody else?
It'd be nice.
Comments box
I think
to EBM Pabst.
I think the issue is that when you're trying to sometimes it's actually easier to actually write the documentation yourself than it is to try and pass it off onto somebody else. Certainly for where we are, we're a small team. We can't support a large team. So you have to take on all the other roles.
There's also the matter of when you're producing something that's going to be used by other engineers, you definitely don't want a non-engineer being the middleman in between, who made it and how to use it.
I guess that's true.
An engineer is going to write a much better instruction manual for it than some intermediary party.
And that's certainly true for the stuff that we're doing, is that they're going to OEMs. They're not going to, be sold on the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, obviously RS and Farnell are different from that because anyone can just buy something from there. But effectively, you're selling into an engineering community, so you need to supply engineering type documentation.
Sure. So then what's I don't know how much you can talk about in terms of your stuff at work, like specifically, but do you have any favorite projects that you've worked on while you've been there? Or actually, in any of your jobs, really?
It's difficult to say because I've always said that the products themselves are not necessarily what's actually interested me. It's to me, it's the problem solving and the coming up with new ways of doing stuff and knowing that you're designing and maybe building something that nobody else has considered doing before. So regardless of whether it's been, measuring the quality of a food substance or flying in outer space or on the back of a Formula One car, we still have to go through the same process.
Right.
Zombie blood test kits.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of now that you've mentioned zombies, I'm trying to think of what fans could do for zombies. You think you can make a fan that was powerful enough to blow them away?
Big fan.
Oh yeah, easy.
Chop them up.
Really? That's
easy? They're already there.
Slice and dice.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Dude.
Nice big jet engine sized fan, sucks the zombie up, slice and dice, pulls it out the back.
Gross.
Well, even the small compact fans that go back in the back of PCs, they'll give you a nasty cut. And they're only little fans.
I have got a nasty cut off of one of those. Some of the newer ones have that hook on the end of the blade.
That's right, the airfoil.
Those will mess your fingertip up, let me tell you.
Yep. So then what would it take for you to hook up a wall full of fans that could either chop or blow?
It wouldn't be very hard at all.
Walk me through the process. That way we know what materials we need.
Well, from the EBM point of view, we do a 900 millimeter diameter fan.
Okay.
So, I think you'd stand a pretty hard job. It's about 3 kilowatt motor, 5 kilowatt motor.
Okay.
I think that's on the back of that. I think you'd have a hard job just standing still in front of one of those, not alone a wall of them.
Can we add spikes to it?
Yeah, you got the balancing issue then.
I would make an excellent middle manager.
Well,
yeah. Can we have it in pink?
But you, but you also have to have a kill safe because somehow it's got to have a sensor that you're human.
Can it play MP3s?
It's
Flight of the Valkyries while it's.
Interestingly enough, the new modern EC fans are not like the traditional AC fans. So if you can stick your hand in there, they groan and grind, and you could eventually burn out the motor. Modern fans are effectively large DC motors with polar magnets, so they've got intelligence built inside them to actually operate them. So providing you didn't break it in half or destroy the blades in the process, if you actually ram something inside the fan, they will actually detect that they've been stopped and they'll just turn their own power off. So they are pretty good at saving themselves.
Well,
actually, one of the demos I actually do for customers at this level is to take a fan, which is, I'm trying to think what sort of size it is, about 400 or 500 millimeters in diameter.
mm-hmm.
And I just grab hold of the blade before we turn it on, and you just power it up, and it just sits there, and it's just nudging and nudging, trying to pull the blade out of your hand.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not strong enough to actually damage you, because it's trying to not damage itself, and it'll wait until the obstacle's been removed before it powers up.
That's really good.
If you get a zombie head stuck in there, you'll be fine.
On PC that I built years and years ago, someone stuck a little popsicle stick in the fan on the power supply for the computer.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And that stopped the fan in its tracks, and eventually the fan melted out.
Oh.
Melted, caught on fire, caught the power supply on fire, right?
Oops.
Yeah.
Wow, all that just from a freaking popsicle
Yeah, just
stick?
from that little fan having something stuck in it.
You know what? That's gonna get someone to actually try it.
Well, if the fans have changed now, so.
But see, okay, so they're what's the word? Preserving. Okay, the fans are self-preserving. Zombie fans. But
yeah,
you can override that, right? In the event of a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, once the fan's actually running up to speed, I mean, the momentum and the inertia that's actually there is it's going to take something pretty serious to stop it.
Hordes of undead masses. All right, come on, fans. You can do it. You can be the first line of defense.
This is, of course, assuming you've gone past the safety regulations and decided that you can stick something bigger than a finger in a fan.
Oh, true. Well, just take the grating off. You know, the.
We won't have to worry about health and safety then, though, will we?
Well, that's why I'm wondering if you can somehow program a failsafe. You know, in terms of if it detects that it's human, the fan stops, right? If it detects that it's zombie, then the fan doubles its speed or something.
Well, I think you're gonna have to properly spec out this.
I'll leave the documentation to you.
I see.
I
think if you found any humans that were still alive that were silly enough to sort of put their hands in a fan, do you still want them in the gene pool?
True. Well, but for the ones that suck people in,
Oh, I see what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to be careful of those. Because if well, I guess that's true though. Gene pool is pretty important for after the zombie apocalypse. I mean, save human lives. Everyone.
Now, you said, I believe you were on Essex?
That's right.
All right.
And you can actually understand me.
Off the coast there, there's a guy named...
is this
Roy?
one of those American comments where you all say, well, you're from England, you must know Dave?
No. There's a guy named Roy something or other. But he has occupied for since the late 60s or something, a old naval weapons platform that they put down during World War II to sort of defend the shipping channel coming in out of Essex. And
right.
He has declared himself a sovereign country. They call it Sealand. And I guess it's right off the coast from where you are there. I was just wondering if you'd heard of that, because that's a guy who might be good to have on a zombie apocalypse team. I know he doesn't live on the platform anymore. He moved back into town, so he lives, just a couple blocks from you.
Wesker, he seems a little nutty.
Well, yeah, very nutty, but, he owns a weapons platform in the middle of the ocean.
True.
I think, and it's up on giant concrete pillars up out of the water, too. So even if zombies could walk under the water, they're not getting up that thing.
Yeah, I've not actually heard of him, but I've actually heard of this.
He lives in town with you.
Because it was taken out. It was actually taken over by a pirate radio station.
Yeah. Radio
many
Essex.
years ago.
Yeah, Radio Essex.
No, it definitely wasn't Radio Essex.
Well, he called his radio station Radio Essex.
There is a Radio Essex now. It's definitely not him.
Right. Well, at the time, this is like, the 60s or something.
Yeah. I'm not that old though. But yeah, because we had Radio Caroline, which was an old trawler. that was set up off the coast,
Hmm.
so that they could actually transmit into the UK. So
Yeah.
that they were outside the UK waters.
Pirate
for
radio is
pirate
so
radio.
interesting. So interesting.
Yeah, there used to be a lot of pirate radio around in those days, in the 60s and 70s.
We need to get him back.
Yeah, I think they all went off to be ham operators or something.
Yes, success. Are you a ham operator?
When I was learning electronics, in '81, CB radios came out in the UK, which is the FM version. You guys had the AM, didn't you?
Yep.
And it grew largely in popularity. There's huge amounts of people using it, and you ended up with lots of kids using it, unfortunately. And you do sort of like 100 watts to talk to the girlfriend, only sort of 200 yards down the road, and play music and wipe out 4 channels either side of them.
And FM takes up quite a bit of bandwidth too, so.
Yep. So a lot of people started moving over to ham, and I actually studied electronics when I was about 6 or 7, and I was actually helping other guys or people who were becoming ham operators learn the electronic side.
No.
And I did go through all the regulations and stuff like that, and I did consider taking the test, but at the time I just couldn't see why at the time. And we had a 30-meter receiver that we used to use. I used to use, I don't know if you guys ever had them, the Spectrums or the ZX81s. Did they ever reach the US?
I'm aware of them. They weren't really
like the
around
Dragon.
here nearly as much. I'm a Commodore 64 guy, of course.
Yeah, well, we had the Dragon in the UK, which was a sort of I think it's a bit of a clone of the Commodore. We used quite a lot.
I think Roy Eltham may have had a Sinclair as his first computer.
Yeah. No, we used them to listen to or receive slow scan, RTTY, and Morse.
Cool.
Wow.
And we did actually get particularly sad at one point, and we actually managed to transfer programs from one Spectrum to another using the CB radio over the air.
Don't know if you're much of a history buff, but man, oh man, is amateur radio important to recent UK history. Because, holy crap, in World War II, the amateur operators they were instrumental in helping.
Yep. Well, you look up where EBM is and where I work, and we're in Chelmsford, the home of Marconi.
Gotcha.
Oh, cool.
Yep, the Marconi buildings are probably 2-3 miles away from where I work.
Oh my gosh. Do you go there like on your lunch breaks?
And admire the building. No, unfortunately, it's unfortunately in a very desolate state now.
Oh no.
A lot of the place is boarded up since they shut down.
Oh wow.
But the Anglia Polytechnic or university we've got there has actually got a Marconi building that they've named after it, and they are literally across the road from where the old buildings were. It is a shame.
Yeah. And it's a shame that you're not a ham operator yet. You should totally get on that. Totally get on it. Zombie apocalypse.
Well, I won't have to sit in your regulations then, will I?
Yes. But it'll be easy.
I think Addy just wants more DX QSOs.
Dude, that'd be excellent.
Long distance
contacts. I think I just didn't take it at the time because I was a teenager and wasn't really that interested.
Sure.
I didn't see the need. And obviously we still had Morse in there as well. I mean, I could have taken the lower grade.
Oh, that's true.
To me, it was always a case of, either do it all and do it properly or not bother.
True.
And I wasn't interested in learning Morse.
Yeah, no, I can't say I don't have any interest at all because Whisker's kind of like making me learn it kind of sort of by listening to it all the time. But,
yeah, I'm not a ham operator, but I'm slowly learning Morse, which is fun.
Yep.
I did enjoy listening to it. There's a sort of a thing of sitting there listening, slowly winding in the sideband and getting the tone just right.
Yep. Getting through the noise.
Yep.
So, besides work and the awesome zombie sucking fans that you guys make, what do you have any projects that you work on the side, like as part of your hobby bit?
Well, you're not going to believe, and I get very jealous when I see these other guys on the internet. They've all got benches and desks and workspace, and I've literally got about, I don't know, about 2 foot by 6 inches of space in front of my monitor.
Ah.
That's it. No, I don't do anything here. Luckily, I get given lots of dev kits to review,
Yep. Yep.
and I get to play around with those.
Sure.
As anyone that's been following at the moment will know that I've been playing around with the Excel FPGA board,
Okay.
which is a great little thing, and Jason's Jason's LED matrix.
Is this
playing around with?
Is this that Todic and Zula
Yep.
X? Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's the one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I'm doing a few FPGA blogs for Element 14.
Okay.
So I decided, well, I've got this kit laying around. A lot of hobbyists, from the point of view, you don't necessarily want to be building boards sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
And it's time consuming. So
Well, you do it at work all the time anyway, so.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah.
But I thought, oh, right, we'll have a go at actually building stuff on breadboards.
Yeah.
So, I'm taking other people's dev boards and bits of kit, and I'm seeing what I can do with them.
Right.
I've got the Paleo M3PI little robot.
Okay.
I've got one of those. I've got some XB transmitters and receivers.
Sure.
So I've got this year. I mean, previous year I've just been reviewing individual kits. So this year, what I want to do is I actually want to write up blogs where they're actually being used and doing something interesting.
Awesome.
Should be fun.
So it'd be the year of projects then.
On one of your YouTube channels, I noticed that it looked like you were playing with some sort of a line following robot.
Yep, that's the one. That's the little robot from Paleo that ARM gave me.
It looks like you got it up to a really, really fast speed towards the end.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think it's about a meter a second it'll do.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Top
That's
speed.
pretty good.
I don't think I've ever seen one go quite that fast before. It's pretty impressive.
There are faster ones. I think from what I can remember, this one doesn't actually meet the maze solving speed that you'd actually need to do if you're doing proper competitions.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't actually quite get up fast enough.
Wow.
But yeah, it certainly shifts. Embed actually do a race competition where you actually sort of program them to sort of try and get the maximum speed out of them.
Oh, cool.
And
did you
tweaking
win?
the PID. And I haven't actually been involved. It's where I saw it at. We have a new electronics trade show.
Ah, I see.
And that's what I saw. I saw that at last year. I think it was last April. And they hadn't actually released it. It was just an ARM prototype. I say ARM, it's Embed, guys in Cambridge.
Ah.
And they developed it, and I think they've given the design to Paleo and now made the boards. So I do some bits and pieces with Embed, and they gave me one, and I was able to review it.
Awesome. It's like adult Pinewood derbies.
That's right, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So in terms of like your
geeks.
Right, well, yeah, exactly. In terms of your reviews, how do you put your boards through their paces? Like, is there anything that you want to make sure they can handle, etc.?
Yep, there's I actually did a 101 to 4 dev kits on, I think it was Engineers Blogs.
Okay. And
I look at kits and I say I want to be able to get them up and going in 30 minutes.
Oh.
So that's, there's you imagine Christmas, you open the box, you get something out. You don't want to spend 45 minutes making it work.
Right.
Or a couple of hours.
Right.
And I hate the idea of getting a dev kit and spending 3 hours downloading the IDE and then, pouring through 400 pages, to get it to blink an LED.
Right.
It's got to be able to sort of come out the box, put it down, really simple guides, easy links to find on websites, well explained. But then importantly, once you've got through the examples, is to be able to then go on further with the dev kit. There are too many one-trick ponies, which they just do a function and a demonstration, and that's all they will give you.
Mm-hmm.
And from a dev kit, certainly from the point of view is if you're a hobbyist, or if you're doing this from a commercial point of view, you're buying this dev kit because you want to review a particular chip or a processor or a technique. You then want to be able to move it on into your design.
Right.
Yeah. I think the real judge of a development platform is whether or not there's a podcast with some chick that doesn't know what she's doing, trying to figure out how to use it. I think that's a really important quantifying factor of the whole, vibe of the thing. Yeah.
But I don't think that's any way to speak about Jerry.
Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, it is helpful if you've got videos and stuff to help you along. But I think, as I say, there's too many kits I've picked up where you've got no extra I/O on them, or no extra facilities you can take them any further, or you get given 20,000 lines of code which are heavily commented, but you just still can't understand one end of it to the other.
Right.
And you think, I'm going to spend weeks trying to understand this, and I want something it's easy to understand.
Right. Huh. So do you have one that you enjoy, like that you've picked up, but enjoyed so much that you would continue developing with it?
In a way, yeah. I mean, the Excel is definitely one that I like using.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a lot of flexibility on it. It's very simple and easy to use.
Mm-hmm.
Leaf Labs. I don't know if you come across them guys. They're the Maple board.
I heard about. I think I read that. In your blog.
They've got an STM32 processor on that, and it's currently the only dev board I've picked up with an STM32 on it that's I've found actually usable.
Ah, okay.
They've got a very, very good Arduino clone interface for it to use, and it certainly makes the microchip chip kit clone look poor by comparison.
Gotcha.
But I've been very impressed with that one.
Gotcha.
It's got a lot of features on it.
Cool.
That actually lives in my bag.
Oh.
And that goes like that's doing as many miles as I do every day back and forth to work, because it is there. I can use it at work or I can use it at home, because I use that over an Arduino.
Oh.
I
that works. It. Now, do companies end up reading your reviews, and have they ever replied to you or changed design from your reviews?
Yeah, I mean, most of the reviews I do, I'm normally getting the equipment from them directly anyway.
Okay.
Or through one of the distributors, so they probably know I've got it.
Mm-hmm.
I always try and give them an opportunity if I find stuff that's particularly bad.
Sure.
To try and make amends. I am just one engineer, and I sort of go back to them and say, look, maybe I've got this wrong. Maybe I don't understand it. Maybe I can't find the stuff on the website. I'm just not looking right places.
Mm-hmm.
So I give them the opportunity to come back and sort of point out. But generally, I won't change what I've written, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Other people have gone away and changed stuff on their websites to stuff easier to find.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So you're like a nice version of Dave Jones. No offense, Dave. I think Dave is very nice.
Dave's a bastard.
It's like, wait, first I'm a zombie, now I'm a bastard. No, we're just. I mean, in the sense that you give them the chance to respond.
No, the only difference is you actually get to see Dave throwing a pit kit free over his shoulder, whereas you don't with me. And I get very, very frustrated. There's actually stuff I've tested where I've refused to write a blog for it because I found it absolutely so awful, and I've gone back to them and said, this is actually atrocious.
That's great.
And
there is a lot of that kind of stuff out there too. I mean, for every good product, there's 100 bad ones. Yeah,
and there is one on Design Spark if you want to go and have a look. I won't say their name, but I went back to them and I said, look, this is absolutely rubbish, and this is this looks like a dev kit that somebody from high school's done.
We need Pauls and Daves in the world to keep people honest.
I agree.
And the really nice thing is that TI came back and they said, we don't care. So
really?
Yeah, they didn't care. So they got a really nasty review anyway.
Oh, good.
Was it Ocean Strategy?
Did Paul Cristoforo sit on their board. But I mean, who would be so stupid as to say, well, we're going to send this out for someone to review and then tell them that we don't care about the quality of our product? I mean, like that defies logic.
I think it depends who you end up going back and speaking to. It
could be ego?
I just went back. I think I just went back through the normal, I hate to say this, marketing routes, and they didn't care.
Huh.
If I'd have been speaking to someone inside or an engineer or something like that, they probably would have taken more interest.
Sure.
Well, that's why, the whole equal opportunity employment thing is a brilliant idea, but not so much when it also applies to zombies. When you hire zombies in your marketing department, you're going to get this kind of crap.
Well,
I'm just going to state for the record that, that the people we have in marketing are not zombies.
Just in case anybody's listening.
Have you tested them?
Put it this way, she makes my tea, so I'm not going to say anything bad about her at all.
I am still in
you
awe.
You run out of questions?
No. I am still in awe that that you guys have to go from beginning to end in your projects. Like, I'm going
it's
beginning.
No different from what hobbyists are doing.
Well, yes and no, though, because a lot of hobbyists have like templates to work off sometimes. Like some people, they have, okay, so say you want to make an audio amplifier. There's like a bajillion audio amplifier circuits out there already. And all you really have to do is adapt it somewhat for your own needs, right?
Yep.
So you're not.
Well, I would say we probably do the same thing.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I was taught by a software engineer, but one of the best tools was copy and paste. And, as a hardware engineer, it's very much the same. We deal with a large number of fans.
Yeah.
There are temperature circuits, there are humidity circuits, and CO2 and different types of things, and they don't really change. That they're not really massively different.
I guess that's true.
We're working from building blocks.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, those building blocks evolve. I mean, in the 5 years I've been at EBM, some of our drive circuits that we use for driving the different outputs and our input signals, and we've come up with new quirky ideas and ways of doing them.
Mm-hmm.
But they move between our designs. And we reuse those ideas. So it's just a case of where we have 1, 2, 3, or 5 of them fitted in a board.
So you're kind of like a sensor guru then. Because I when I think of fans, I think of, all right, well, you plug it in and it goes. When power is on, it goes. Otherwise, it's off, right? But
Yep.
you're mentioning like temperature sensors, CO2 sensors, like...
Well, the whole world is going green, and we're trying to reduce energy consumption and noise pollution and all these sort of things. And
I see.
There are tons of people listening to this who have stayed in a hotel somewhere, who have been kept awake all night by the fan rattling in the kitchen down below them. And you all know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's now a case of, just educating people. We're now designing and developing fans, and regulations are changing, so people are having to change these new energy efficiency fans so that they use less energy, they're quieter, and because they're inherently a DC motor with intelligence inside them, there is a controller built inside them. So it's very easy to change the speed. And I think it's, what is it? If you reduce a fan's or a motor speed by half, reduce its energy consumption by something like 7/8.
Wow.
So it's a massive drop off. Yeah.
Holy buckets.
So there's real benefits from dropping the speed off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when people design fans in, they design fans in that are over spec. You wouldn't design something in that's under spec. You always end up putting a fan that delivers more airflow than you need.
Sure.
So if you can back the speed off, you get what you want and you save energy.
Sure.
And this is, of course, very useful to the context of this show, because a lot of times we're talking about how do you rebuild after some sort of disaster? And if you're going to rebuild, you want to rebuild in an efficient fashion. And having this sort of technology around makes it much, much easier to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like there's a lot of fans out there of Paul's work. All right. There's a couple of questions.
That was horrible, Whisker.
There's a couple of questions that we like to ask every guest.
Okay, wait, but I have...
She always interrupts.
I always have one other question. Okay, question. Do you think you're going to stay working with fans and the like for the foreseeable future? Or do you think you might want to move on to something else?
I don't see any reason of moving from where I am. I enjoy what I'm doing.
Okay.
Good people.
Not going to be starting any pirate radio stations on naval weapons platforms?
No. No. Strangely not.
Radio Mon PJC.
Yeah.
Huzzah.
Yeah. Complete with animated figures.
That would be
great.
Awesome. That would be awesome.
All right, are you done interrupting
maybe
now?
If people started paying me for my reviews and my blogs, then maybe there might be a career change. But no, I'm still just an engineer.
Sure. Hey, not just an engineer.
We need engineers,
awesome.
So I'm all up for that plan.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
Especially people who know how to do everything.
Especially when there's only, would you say 3?
3? What 3?
3 in the area?
Yeah.
At our place, yeah, we've only got 3 electronics engineers, yeah.
Yeah.
That is just mind-boggling. I mean, how many... Okay, and like...
If I were that company, I would change the words in your dictionary around just to make it more difficult for you to blog efficiently.
What?
A little bit of subversive, editing of they could put up a company firewall that changes his research results from Wikipedia searches and stuff like that, just so he gets things wrong more often. That way he can never succeed in a career as a blogger.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get it.
Yeah.
Clever.
But, okay. But you're good thing you're not his boss then. There's information to be given to the masses, Whisker.
Oh, well, yeah, for the people. People.
Yeah, and
Right.
I think that's something that I try and push, is that engineering is very different from some other jobs. Different people in different companies won't necessarily talk to each other in the same level at the same level.
Right.
Whereas engineers will. It's about passing on and building on what other people have done.
Right. Right.
For the good.
And your blogs really do reflect quite a bit of that. So, I know the engineering community. Thank you for your efforts.
Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true.
I'll cancel that memo to your bosses about the misinformation thing. I was mistaken.
Mistaken about the misinformation. Oh, Whisker.
All right. So
we
we've
have
got
an
a
IT
couple.
department. I can assure you, most stuff is filtered.
We do have a couple of questions that we do have to get to.
Right.
Okay, just a couple minutes left here.
I will.
See, I was trying to make this longer than Dave's one.
Than Dave's. How long was Dave's?
Since I built the podcast clock, we're much better about staying on time.
Well, I felt so bad because I used to go way past the mark, and then they got hungry, and then I felt bad. So I don't want you guys to get hungry. So what 3 tools would you bring to a zombie apocalypse bunker there in the middle of the ocean off of Sussex?
I'm guessing
Essex.
Paul comes prepared, being a regular listener.
Yes.
No, funny enough. Sonic screwdriver.
Okay.
A hat.
A hat?
Yes.
Why?
Well, you will have noticed I'm bald.
Yeah.
Can't let all the heat get out.
It's more like getting burnt while I'm out there trying to fit all these fans on the side of the building.
Wait, why would you get burned by fans?
No, by the sun.
Oh, the sun.
Oh,
It's sunny.
Oh, I see.
No.
Engineers don't go out in the sun.
They're vampires. Engineers
Yeah.
are the real vampires. So engineers
Exactly.
are the sexy and brooding folks.
We
I
eat
see.
pizza and drink. We drink. Eat pizza and drink Jolt.
Yep. with a little bit of Mountain Dew on the side.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So a sonic screwdriver, hat. What kind of hat?
It's got to be something that looks particularly bad, isn't it?
Like, are we talking fedora? So you can like
A what?
a fedora. You don't know what a fedora is?
I don't go outside in the light.
Indiana Jones style.
Ah, yeah. You mean without the
I think
forks?
Paul's more of a bowler kind of guy.
Really?
Yeah, it's a gentleman.
It's got to have a big rim. So when it's raining, it's got to run off.
You have a little mini gutter system.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. All right. But then your head won't get well.
I just wear it all the time.
Cowboy hats.
Maybe he needs like a small umbrella.
Oh yeah, and an umbrella hat.
Like Inspector Gadget.
They've got the
multicolored
headband, and then the 4 risers, and then it has an umbrella on it.
Yeah.
That's something you'd expect an electrical engineer to think was a good idea.
Okay, cool. So a hat, and then what's third?
And I'm also thinking an electrical cattle prod.
A what?
Cattle prod.
Why?
Cattle prod. Electric one.
Zzz.
For keeping the zombies off.
Oh.
It's non-lethal. Which is...
They're non-lethal?
Cattle prod is non-lethal, yeah, but it's already dead, so...
Man, these jokes are going way above my head today.
No, I think they're going under your feet, honestly.
Jeez. Okay. So
I apologize for my sense of humor.
no, that's okay. Whisker's laughing a good laugh right here. Let's see. The top book you would bring.
Yes, I've been listening. Everyone's bringing the Art of Electronics.
Right. So we already have like 2 or 3 copies of that.
Which will make, great firewood because that's thick book.
It's horrible.
And for holding doors open.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Quick, put the Art of
I think-
Electronics by the door.
Nobody seems to be bringing any VHDL books, so I think I'd have to bring mine.
Yeah.
What's
that's good.
HDL?
VHDL.
What's VHDL?
Sort of a quasi-programming language
Yeah.
thing for
Very hard, difficult language.
FPGAs.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I haven't quite gotten into FPGAs yet,
Awesome.
but they sound so they're awesome. But yeah, they do sound kind of awesome. But logic gates scare me in general.
I've actually stated this, and people have criticised me. And I've said that VHDL I think is sort of the most purest language I've come across.
Oh.
The things you can do with with FPGAs are just great and fantastic. It blows my mind, the stuff that you can get up to and get away with doing that you just can't do in a micro.
Yeah, because everything happens like now, which is
All
really
happening
cool.
at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's just really bizarre when you're looking at the code and you're thinking all that code's running at the same time.
Yeah.
That's
When I
brilliant.
get to it, I think I'm going to really like them. But for now, I'm enjoying microcontrollers. So
Instantaneous code. Bam.
And it's hardware as well.
Yeah.
Ah.
All right,
It's
Paul.
proper.
Wait.
Is there-
I have another question.
Huh?
One last question. What is your zombie apocalypse survival plan? In general.
Wear a good pair of trainers so I can outrun them.
Stiff upper lip, right? I mean, that's the general plan out that way, right?
I did actually consider coming on here tonight and speaking with a plum in my mouth the whole way through, being more stereotypical.
What? What?
You just lost her, Paul.
Oh dear. Well, it if ever we watch American programs and you have English people in them, and they're just so proper English, it's just unbelievable.
Uh-huh.
And I did consider trying to do that, but I don't think I could keep it up for an hour.
Yeah, that
I don't-
stereotypical posh way of talking. It's just like you talk to real people from England, and it's not how they speak.
Well, English people can
Exactly.
say anything, and because of their accents, sound brilliant.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
I think I know too many English folks and Welsh folks and Cockneys and whatever to know that that's definitely not true.
Well,
You talk to any footballers, and suddenly that accent doesn't sound intelligent anymore.
I think that come the apocalypse, if I've got my cattle prod under one arm and my VHDL books under the other, with my hat on,
mm-hmm,
my shades, and a good pair of sneakers,
mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to be able to touch me.
Awesome. Mon PJC, the zombie prodding, hat wearing, VHDL programming superstar. I dig it.
All right, Paul, is there anything out there that you'd like people to be aware of? Blogs, Twitter?
I think everyone knows where I am. I know you're going to put links underneath this. So that'd be good. Plenty of feedback. Let me know what you like, what you don't like. I'm always interested in what other people think when they've tested stuff.
Cool.
To see whether I've come up with the same ideas.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Out of time for this week.
Yes.
It's been fun. Not terribly productive, but I laughed a lot. So, hey.
That's okay. We figured out a way to get fans, like zombie chomping fans, into the zombie bunker.
Zombie chopping fans with spikes that are pink and play MP3s are definitely a step in the right direction.
And having watched a zombie film, I don't think you got anything to worry about.
Thanks for listening, everyone. You can find this podcast every week on Thursdays at ZombieTech.tv.
Correcto.
We're on Twitter at TYMKRS. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.